Welcome to Walking with Chris and Vanessa.
Have you and your spouse ever left issues unresolved? Has your spouse shut down on you? Do you have unmet expectations or do you feel unloved or disrespected? It doesn't have to stay that way. That's where Marriage Diamond System comes in. It helps couples to create a safe environment for productive communication. Welcome to Walking with Chris and Vanessa, where we deep dive into real testimony of marriage, purpose, and partnership. Today, we're unpacking feeling safe. So, Marriage Diamonds is something that Chris and I put together as a tool for biblical conflict communication. And we get the whole story for one another, and then we make a diamond. And this diamond is addressing when I threw the flag. And when we throw the flag, we don't throw it at each other, we don't throw it on the ground. But I was actually attacking Chris because from my perspective, he had requested that I help him with his keynote. And when it came down to doing the work, he didn't show up. And I was angry about that. And when I got angry, then I became disrespectful. And if you don't know, the crazy cycle is when a woman feels unloved, she acts with disrespect. And when a man feels disrespected, he's going to act unloving. And so when we recognize that, then like I said, we'll throw the flag on each other so that we can create that safe environment to get the whole story. So that's my perspective. Chris, what's yours?
In this particular diamond, my side of the story was more. I'm really persistent control. That's something that we've coined where I'm very focused when I'm grinding on a particular project. Sometimes I can lose track of time, especially if I'm doing something I'm really passionate about. And I believe that was one of these moments that happened, and I missed our time. And one of the things I realized was how important it is to make sure that I be a man of integrity and meet my word. And if I said that we were going to meet, we should meet. And I understood that, but I didn't really get the energy that I was receiving. I didn't think it was warranting the level of what I consider disrespect. But she was just hurt. So that's kind of, what I've noticed when I heard her side of the story. Especially when she said she prepared and I didn't show up and she was ready to help. And actually, that's her call. One of the things that God has put her in my life for is to help to meet the vision and the need that God is called us to do. So that's pretty much my side. Like I said, I'm very driven, very passionate, but I also need to be very passionate about having integrity too, and making sure I show up when I say I'm going to show up. So that was my side.
And I guess just to add to it, I'm a project management by skill and planning and everything like that. So if I'm in a meeting, if people don't show up, I'm out in like 5 to 15 minutes based on the relationship. So I really find that disrespectful to do that. So I was hurt. I felt disrespected in my time and all of that. So, but that was my perception. And so because you're my spouse, I'm expecting, oh, you should know me. You should know that you shouldn't do that. And that's where that negative attitude came in to begin to attack you. And I'm noticing that when I get negative, I get nasty. And that's not walking in the spirit. So again, that's why it's so important to create that safe environment and recognize what you're doing to contribute to that situation.
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking at the diamond now in my side. And we got to also learn to monitor our emotions too, you guys. I'm talking about for myself, not for Vanessa, because I can't change her, but I can change me. I'm just kind of looking at my mindset. At that moment, I started to get down on myself. And I started feeling like quitting on some things. And I'm not a quitter, but it takes a lot for me to get to that point. When I was kind of down, I really just at that moment, I wanted some support, I guess, and also just a safe place. Now, I wanted some grace too, because I've been down on myself already because there's some things had not been going the way that I wanted them to go. I think at that moment when we made this diamond, I was just looking for some support and just a little bit of grace. So that's kind of where I was at too.
So now that we have the whole story, we're moving into actually making a diamond. And, you can take two directions. You can be negative or you can be positive about things. So the negative way of this process is being mad and having your outbursts or stonewalling, criticizing, or you can be the positive mad, which is make a diamond. And so, Chris, what was the diamond that we made?
For this one, let me start off with the scriptures that making a diamond is based it on. It's on Philippians 2:2. It says, agreeing wholeheartedly with each other, loving one another, and working together with one mind and one purpose. And then the other scripture that we stand on in making a diamond, and this is the good man, right? Make a diamond is the good man, is two people will not walk together unless they've agreed to do so. And that's Amos 3:3. So the diamond for this particular situation that we decided to make was for Vanessa. We fight for one another's win. So for Vanessa's win, she said for Chris to do what we agreed to do or to make adjustments and then do that agreement. So just making sure that I communicate and make adjustments. Or she said, and she was, she was kind of pissed off here. Or we can just stop doing it. And so whoever throws the flag, I gave her it was her win first, and then here's my win because we fighting for each other's win. It just I asked her to ask God to show her how He sees me because I believe that some of the responses and some of the ways that we react to one another, if it is in a space of, of being angry or being either belittling or whatever it may be, that comes from the flesh and it doesn't come, from walking in the spirit. And I was just like, yo, don't let your lenses get so cloudy on me that you just go off on me. I need you to ask God. If you having trouble seeing me from your lens, ask God to show you his view. That's pretty much what was a win for me. Just pray and ask God to show you how to view me in this situation.
One thing that I appreciate being an intentional journaler is these marriage diamonds is a journal, and it allows us to take a moment and reflect back on how we doing. And so one of the things we like to do is rate these diamonds. Was it a real diamond or was it a fake A diamond, which is a fad? So, Chris, from your perspective, because perception is reality. Some of the things that we go through. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. Every diamond that we make is not always gonna solve the issue, but it can clean up a lot of the things that we do. And when we make these diamonds, sometimes it uncovers a pattern, and sometimes it can uncover a perpetual issue. So that's why it's important to come back and reflect and say, was this a real diamond that solved the problem or was it a fad? So, from your perspective, was it real or was it a fad? Chris Davis, what's your rate?
This one, after I put in the diamond meter to see if it was real. Actually, the diamond meter started beeping and I saw the green light on this one because you really put in a lot of work. And it's not just about me. It's more the work that I've seen you've been doing internally, the books you're reading, and then also just the safe place that you've become. Just like in Proverbs, it says, a man who has a virtuous wife, his heart can safely trust in her. And I'm noticing that you're really becoming a very safe place for me. And I just want to just say, this is a real diamond. This ain't no fake diamond. This is a real diamond. This ain't no fad. Good work.
Well, I'm smiling over here because the diamond is blinding me. So I would have to agree that this is a good diamond. So I'm glad that we made it. Any takeaways?
Yeah, I would say for couples, like we're able to look back on this. This is what the beautiful part of having an intentional journal. And thank God that Vanessa, thank you for just being who you are in terms of being the intentional journalist. Amen. But here's three things I would say I would take away from this particular diamond or this particular situation in our life. So, key number one, look at one another through God's point of view. Just to be able to stop and pause and start to think like, okay, God, how do you want me to respond? Because I'm ready to react. I'm ready to go off, right? So if you look at one another and ask God, like, God, how do you want me to respond? Show me how you see them. Look at one another from God's point of view. That's key number one. And that'll allow for you to realize one of the things I learned in the weekend to remember. One of the top moments in that whole weekend for me was when they had us to turn towards one another and say, my spouse is not my enemy. And by the way, I recommend all you guys go to Weekend to Remember. It's a phenomenal wherever you guys are listening from. They have them all over the world, actually, definitely at almost most every state in the entire United States as well. But anyway, key number 2 coming out of that, you guys, I would say have integrity and communicate if there is any adjustments need to be made. I needed to learn that and needed to understand, like, you put the work behind the scenes, you know what I'm saying? So have integrity and honor that person that really wanted to come. She wanted to really come alongside and help me. So your wife or your husband may want to come alongside to help you, and they put in the work. So it's a slap in the face or disrespect for you not to show up and then not to give it the weight that it deserves when they do get upset about it. And then lastly, you guys, I would say the last key, to really glean from this is fight for one another and not against each other. And that's what Marriage Diamonds has allowed for us to do over the years is even when I can't stand you and even when you can't stand me, because there are moments, you hear me, and we're keeping it real here. We have tools to fight for one another. And communication, I'm telling you, it is a horrible sport without no rules. If you don't have any rules in communication, because no holds barred, words can be used like weapons. And so I'm just letting you guys know, fight for one another instead of against each other. So those are the 3 key takeaways that I would share with any couples from this particular diamond.
All right, Chris, those are great takeaways. I just want to thank everyone for joining us for this conversation. If this has resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, you're not right, you're not wrong, you're just different. Learn to make a diamond.